I've made my stance clear on abortion over the years, and I've been attacked for that by friends. I know that some friends of mine have defriended me based solely on my opinion of abortion. I've been defriended for supporting certain candidates. I really, honestly don't care. If they end up watching this and they're laughing at that, believe me, my life is less toxic without you in it, okay? That's just the way it is. But I have found it necessary for not only myself, but for everyone around me to tell them that if you stand for life, if you are a pro-life individual, now is the time to stand up and make your voice heard. You should be screaming it from the mountaintop, okay? Screaming it from rooftops in my case. You get it, Natalie? There is no reason why we shouldn't be standing for the life of babies in this country, in this world, okay? And we have allowed the conversation to be controlled and taken over by the left for decades now, since the passage of Roe v. Wade, okay? By the way, Roe, in that decision, who advocated for abortion, is now a staunch pro-life advocate who fights against that very decision and regrets everything that she got involved with there, okay? I have family members right now that venomously go against what I'm saying when it comes to being pro-life. And I make no apologies, okay, even to my family members. If I have anyone come up to me, including my own blood, that want to argue with me about me defending the lives of babies, I will stand fast. I will cement my feet in front of them. And I refuse to go another day anymore without standing up and being pro-life, because this narrative that's going on in this country has taken the slippery slope that we always anticipated that it would. Abortion, when it was advocated for back in the day, was always meant to, according to the left, be rare but safe. Meaning that it was always assumed that when an abortion would take place, it would take place at an early stage in the pregnancy, at least within the first term, most likely within the first couple weeks, especially as soon as you realize that you're pregnant. And there's false narratives out there on women's health issues. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's bull, okay? There are case studies and doctors that come out and say it is so astronomically rare that a birth would affect the health of a woman, that even if it got to that point, by that point, it's likely that a C-section would not only save the mother, but also the baby as well. And that with the help of machinery, possibly, I got this wrong the last time, but I believe it's at like 20 weeks, a baby can survive outside the womb with medical assistance, okay? There's no excuse for it. No excuse. I used to be of the mindset at one point in time as I progressed from being pro-choice that I was anti-abortion except for the case of rape and incest. Then I found out that I was a product of rape. Not only the product of a rape, but that I was third generation product of rape, meaning that my grandfather was a product of a rape, and had his mother aborted, 28 of our family members would not be alive today. So for people to sit there and tell me that a woman would carry this demon seed and have to be forced to care for it, that's not what happened in this case. She gave my grandfather up for adoption. In a sense, he was adopted by her best friend, and he grew up treating his actual mother like an aunt, right? My point being here, good things can come of those. And there are systems put into place. We need to do a lot for our adoption system. We need to streamline it. But at no point in time do you kill an innocent life for the crimes of one of the parents. In this, I mean, it could be both parents or one of the mother or the father. In most cases, it's the father. No innocent life. You don't ruin one life or two lives to make up for what happened in that situation. And it dumbfounds me that we are still having this conversation where the same tired excuses are continually thrown into the mix of, well, it's not really a baby, it's just a clump of cells. You are a clump of cells. I am still a clump of cells today. I will die as a clump of cells. I am neatly arranged by the great creator. Sorry if that offends you as well, but that's the way it is. Anyway, we got into even more of a conversation because of the slippery slope argument. It used to be safe and rare, supposedly, right? Now we're getting into disastrous evil laws like what was passed in New York by Governor Cuomo of late-term abortions up to and including dilation and partial birth. The baby's coming out. I've decided I don't want it. This is too much. Let's kill it now. Then we're going to hear about Governor Northam down in Virginia as well, advocating for post-birth abortion at that point, killing a baby that's born, okay? But first, I want to talk about something else. Let's take a look at a movie that's coming out very soon called Unplanned, and it's the true story of Abby Johnson, a Planned Parenthood high-up person who had a realization and a coming to and left that organization, is now staunchly pro-life and a great pro-life advocate. So let's see the trailer for the movie called Unplanned.
Abby Johnson is in the other room.
Here.
Our first order of business is to present Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year Award. Abby Johnson.
This is Abby. She's our newest volunteer escort. Abby, this is Cheryl's Alessandro.
I'd be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history.
You'll actually be in charge of the abortions at your clinic?
I have a chance to make a real difference.
No matter what you do for the rest of your life, you're still gonna be a baby killer.
The only thing that's changed is you, Abby. Can you even hear yourself talk right now about these procedures? These are little babies.
I'm not going to apologize for doing a job that helps women in crisis.
There's still a part of me that isn't sure.
I know. But the one thing that all experts agree on is that at this stage, the fetus can't feel anything.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room. Are you free?
I saw it. And it was like it was twisting and fighting for its life.
We commend the souls of these hundreds of children. And Lord, we pray to end abortion.
I really appreciate what you've done for us. I'll not forget it.
22,000 abortions. How do I even comprehend that?
Rough day at the office?
You can say that.
What are you doing?
It's your dad and me. You are our baby from the moment of conception.
We are paying you to be a perfect instrument of corporate policy. We are an abortion provider.
I can't be a part of this anymore. Everything that they told us is a lie.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Rhonda, please don't do this! Rhonda!
Let me tell you what's gonna happen if you walk through that door.
Congratulations. You've made an enemy of one of the most powerful organizations on the planet.
Okay, trying to put emotion aside here. I read a review of this movie that, or I listened to a review of someone who has actually seen a pre-screening of this movie, and they said that this is going to be a groundbreaking movie. And one of the reasons is because they will actually bring you in to that room where they perform the abortion, and I forget how they put it. They basically put you into Abby Johnson's position of performing it. And they don't get too graphic with what they show, but they show enough that makes your head spin if you are even on the fence about abortion. And I find that very interesting. I'll be honest with you, I had a thought of, I was considering trying to fundraise to get some people to donate some money to bring 5 to 10 people that are pro-choice pay for their movie ticket and bring them to see this movie and get their reaction on camera afterwards, and not to judge them on camera, but to let them say what they felt afterwards, whether they were still pro-choice or not. I just wanted their thoughts on after seeing something like this. And I don't know if I have the capability right now with what I'm doing to organize something like that, but I really think it would be an incredible experiment to do something like that. One other thing I want to point out is that there's one scene in that trailer that disturbs me a little bit, and it's in regards to our side of the equation. And that is, there's a lot of people on the front line of the battlefield against abortion that are fighting daily and standing outside of Planned Parenthood's clinics to warn women that are going inside that there's other alternatives, that there's a different way. And unfortunately, some of those people give the rest of us a bad name, especially for Christians. There's groups out there, and I personally know some, that will stand outside of an abortion clinic and hold up graphic signs and posters of aborted fetuses, or babies, as I would call them, to scare people going in or damn the people that are working there. The only thing I think that does is solidifies the position of individuals that work there as a means of defying those that point of view, and people that are going in. It may scare some off, but I think that it's interesting that a lot of those people will say that they're also trying to bring people to Christ, which when you scare them off or make them angry, I don't see how that works. So I have a proposition or an idea, and I've shared this with multiple people, especially church people, that I believe the way forward for Christians to battle against abortion, especially in regards to Planned Parenthood organizations and clinics, is not to get in the face of individuals and call them sinners and damn them to hell for their actions and everything, but is really to try and move their heart and mind. And the only way I think is possible for that, or one of the ways I think is possible, is instead of standing there with graphic signs, instead just set up a collapsible table, get a pot of coffee going, have some paper cups there available, and say, if you're interested in talking about what's going on and what you're about to do, or any other choices that you may have, sit down at this table and we'd be happy to share with you our thoughts on it, and sit there, hold their hand. You know, a lot of these people are very confused and don't understand what's going on, and are caught up in anxiety and emotions that they just can't comprehend at that moment. And if we can be there for them, it's more likely to move them into the light rather than push them into the darkness. So it's going to be interesting. That movie looks pretty incredible, if I say so myself, and it'll be interesting to see what the reception is of that. Now, before we get to the Pastor Dylan interview, I have one more video that I want you guys to see, and that's of Senator Sasse, Ben Sasse of Nebraska, who stood in front of Congress and delivered a speech in regards to infanticide, which is what I was talking about. The logical conclusion to what these things are doing, these bad policies, is killing a baby after it's born, and trying to get the rest of Congress to stand up and say, listen, you may be for abortion, but can we at least come together and stand together that killing a baby outside the womb is something that's wrong. So let's take a look at Ben Sasse, who, by the way, will probably be the next president after Donald Trump. Let's take a look.
This place fancies itself the world's greatest deliberative body, but we would be deceiving ourselves if we ignored the biggest debate that's been happening in America over the last 36 hours. A public elected official, the governor of one of the 50 states, has been defending a practice that is morally repugnant. The governor of Virginia has been defending a practice that is repugnant to civilized people across the entire world. Here's just one of the ugly nuggets from Ralph Northam, the governor of Virginia. Quote, "If the mother is in labor, the infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated, if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physician and the mother. Let's be really clear about what we're talking about here. We're talking about fourth trimester abortion, or what anyone in the normal world calls infanticide. That's what we're talking about. And the governor of Virginia has been defending this all day yesterday and again today, going out and trying to equivocate and qualify and then double down and again say he wants to defend this practice, which is infanticide. Let's be clear what we're talking about. We're talking about killing a baby that's been born. We're not talking about some euphemism. We're not talking about a clump of cells. We're talking about a little baby girl who's been born and is on a table in a hospital or a medical facility, and then a decision or a debate would be had about whether or not you could kill that little baby. We're talking about the most vulnerable among us, and we have a public official in America out there again and again defending a practice. This is infanticide that we're talking about. This should be so far beyond any political consideration. We're talking about a little baby, a baby with dignity, an image bearer. We're talking about a tiny life that has done nothing wrong to warrant being left to die cold and alone on a table. Everyone in the Senate ought to be able to say unequivocally that killing that little baby is wrong. This doesn't take any political courage. And if you can't say that, if there's a member of this body that can't say that, there may be lots of work you can do in the world, but you shouldn't be here. You should get the heck out of any calling in public life where you pretend to care about the most vulnerable among us. There should be no politics here that are right versus left or Republican versus Democrat. This is the most basic thing you could be talking about. We're talking about a little baby born alive, and we have a public official in America defending the idea, well, you could have a debate about killing her. That's why today I'm starting a dual-track legislative process to make sure that this body has a clear-eyed look at the issue before us, has a clear-eyed look at this atrocity, and to make sure that the 320 million men and women who are actually our bosses, to be sure that they have a clear-eyed look about what we stand for. Do we stand with those little vulnerable babies in desperate need of care and comfort and support, medical treatment, and food? Or do we stand with the comments of the governor of Virginia over the last 2 days? Tonight I'm beginning what's known as the Rule 14 process. It's an expedited procedure for floor consideration of my legislation, the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. And in addition, I want to announce that on Monday night, I'm going to have every senator, I'm going to be sure that every senator has the opportunity to come to the floor and say who we stand for and what we stand against. And so I want to announce that in addition to the Rule 14 process that I'm going to initiate just here in a moment, I also want senators to be aware that on Monday evening, I'm going to be asking unanimous consent for senators to come to the floor and pass an Abortion Survivors Protection Act, an Abortion Survivors Born Alive piece of legislation. I'm going to ask all 100 senators to come to the floor and be against infanticide. This shouldn't be complicated.
Okay, that was Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska. Again, I believe the next in line to be president of the United States. Fantastic individual. I've been in his presence as well, and he's awesome. And I've seen liberal friends of mine post videos of him saying things that they agree with, and I think that the kind nature of him and people like Dan Crenshaw is what is a uniting factor that I think can bring us into the next phase of healing in this country. Now, what he was talking about there is putting a bill forward saying that if a child survives an abortion attempt, that when it's on the delivery table, that we save it. It's very simple. If this child is born alive and is living, that we simply allow it to live and get it some care. Because right now we are debating in this country whether we leave it there in what's called comfort care and allow this child to die because it was supposed to have succumbed to an abortion prior to the birth of it, okay? And it's it's absolutely evil that we've come to a place in this country, in this time, where we're actually having these kinds of conversations on should this baby here live. It's not I'm not pointing to something in the womb of a mother. I'm talking about a baby that's sitting on a table and crying. Okay, for crying for food, gasping for air, trying to open its eyes for the first time and adjust to the light. Okay? I'm talking about life. Okay? This absolute disrespect for life that we have come to, specifically human life. And you'll hear me talk about that more in this upcoming interview here. Astounds me that we've gotten to this point, because I believe public education has indoctrinated us into just a false way of looking at things, and it's disgusting.